You are not tired because you work too hard. You are tired because a broken loop is quietly running your body. And until someone shows you that loop, you will keep blaming yourself. You keep thinking if you just pushed a little harder, planned a little better, or disciplined yourself a little more, things would turn around. They won't. Not without understanding what is actually happening inside your body right now. Here is the truth that nobody in the money world talks about and nobody in the health world connects to your bank account. Sleep loss and money stress are not two separate problems happening to you at the same time. They are the same problem. They feed each other. They make each other worse. And together they quietly take down every system your body uses to stay healthy and think clearly. This video is about that loop, what it is, how it works inside your body, and, most importantly, exactly where it breaks. Because once you see it, you genuinely cannot unsee it. And once you spot where the break points are, the way out becomes obvious. Let's start with what is actually happening when you don't sleep. Most people think of sleep as rest, as doing nothing, as powering down. That is not what sleep is, not even close. Sleep is actually the most productive biological period of your entire day. While you are unconscious, your body is running processes it literally cannot run while you are awake. It is not resting, it is working on a completely different set of tasks that are just as critical as anything you do with your eyes open. Here is what actually happens during a full night of quality sleep. Your brain switches on a cleaning system. Think of it like a biological dishwasher for your brain. This cleaning system flushes out waste that builds up in your brain tissue all day long, sticky proteins that clog things up, build up directly linked to mental decline over time. Your brain is literally taking out its own trash. And here's the catch, it can only do this while you are asleep. While you sleep deeply, your body releases most of its daily supply of growth hormone. And growth hormone is not just for building muscle, it governs repair throughout your entire body. It tells your fat cells to release stored energy. It tells your muscle tissue to rebuild. It keeps your metabolism running properly. Without enough deep sleep, that release drops dramatically. Your body's ability to repair itself drops right along with it. Every single night you miss deep sleep, your repair bill gets bigger. Now here is the part about your stress hormone. It follows a natural daily cycle. High in the morning to wake you up. Near zero at night, so your body can recover. Quality sleep is what enforces that rhythm. Without it, your stress hormone stays high at night when it should be near zero. And that is one of the most damaging states your body can be stuck in. Now here's the part that hits your hunger. Two hormones run your appetite. One makes you hungry. One tells you that you're full. One night of poor sleep pushes the hunger hormone up and the fullness hormone down. You wake up hungrier. You feel full way later. You eat more. And the foods your brain craves when it's sleep deprived? High sugar, high fat, high calorie, every time. Because your brain is hunting for fast energy it didn't get overnight. Here is where it gets even more serious. During deep sleep, your cells reset their sensitivity to insulin, the hormone that moves sugar from your blood into your cells for energy. When you don't get enough deep sleep, that reset doesn't happen. Your cells become less responsive. Your blood sugar stays high longer after every meal. Your body pumps out more insulin to try to compensate. Over time, that pathway leads directly to weight gain, energy crashes, and serious metabolic damage, all from missed sleep. Now let's talk about the command center of your brain. The front part, the part responsible for rational thinking, impulse control, and long-term planning. Sleep deprivation directly shuts that command center down. Not as a metaphor, measurably. Brain scans show that even one bad night produces the same impaired patterns seen in people under extreme psychological pressure. All of this is happening or failing to happen to you every single night. And now, here is where it locks onto your money. Because every system sleep is supposed to restore, your financial life depends on. Let's talk about what money stress actually does to your body. Most people think of it as a feeling, an emotion, something that only lives in your thoughts. It doesn't live in your thoughts. It lives in your blood. When you are checking your account and the number is wrong, when you are figuring out if you can make rent, when you are lying awake at 2 a.m. running numbers that still don't add up, your body activates its full stress response. Your brain signals your stress glands. Those glands flood your blood with cortisol. Your heart rate climbs, your blood pressure rises, your digestion slows, your immune system partially switches off. Your body pulls energy away from long-term maintenance and dumps it into immediate survival mode. This response was built for short-term threats, a physical danger, something you deal with and then recover from in minutes. Money stress is not short-term. For hundreds of millions of people, it runs for months, for years, sometimes for decades. And that system was never built for that. A stress response designed for short bursts cannot survive continuous activation without causing serious biological damage. And here is specifically what that damage looks like. Chronic high cortisol directly wrecks your sleep. It makes it harder to fall asleep, harder to stay asleep. It suppresses the deep sleep stages where your most critical repair happens. It keeps your brain in a lighter, more alert state all night long. Because from a survival standpoint, your body does not want to be deeply unconscious when a threat hasn't been resolved. Here is what your body genuinely cannot tell apart: an unpaid bill and a physical predator. To your nervous system, both produce the exact same signal. That signal says stay alert, stay ready, do not go deeply unconscious. So money stress prevents the deep sleep that would lower your cortisol, restore your brain's command center, reset your hunger hormones and your metabolism, and your capacity for clear thinking. Without that sleep, all of those systems degrade, and when they degrade, your money situation gets harder to manage. Not because your circumstances changed, but because the tools you need to manage them were quietly taken offline. Let's make this concrete, because this is the part most people have never had explained to them, and it is the part that genuinely changes everything. When you are sleep deprived, your brain's command center is partially offline. That is not an exaggeration. Even one poor night measurably reduces its activity. And that command center is the only part of your brain that can override your impulses, evaluate long-term consequences, and make the kind of deliberate decisions that building anything financially requires. What takes over when the command center goes offline? The older, more emotional, more reactive part of your brain. The part that makes decisions based on how things feel right now, not what they mean in 5 years. Sleep-deprived people genuinely spend more money. This is documented. Poor sleepers are significantly more likely to make impulse purchases, spend more than they planned, and choose immediate comfort over future security. This makes complete sense when you understand the biology. Your command center, the part that asks, "Do you actually need this right now?" is running at reduced power. Your emotional brain, the part that says, "This will make you feel better right now," is running the show. And your exhausted body is creating pressure to spend for relief. You are not making bad money decisions because you lack discipline. You are making them because the biological system that produces discipline was degraded by lost sleep. And that sleep was lost partly because of the money stress that the spending will temporarily relieve. Do you see how tight this trap is? Money stress leads to poor sleep. Poor sleep impairs your command center. A weaker command center leads to worse money decisions. Worse decisions create more money stress. More stress wrecks sleep. The loop runs itself. And it runs automatically, below the level of awareness, every single day, without anyone telling you it is happening. Now let's add the health layer, because this is where it gets even more serious, and where most people realize their physical health and their money are being wrecked by the exact same thing at the exact same time. Remember what happens to your hunger hormones when you don't sleep. Hunger hormone goes up, fullness hormone goes down. You are hungrier, you feel full later. You crave high-calorie foods specifically. Now add high cortisol to that picture, because here is what chronically high cortisol does to your body shape, and almost nobody talks about this in money conversations. High cortisol tells your body to break down your muscle tissue for fuel. At the same time, it tells your body to store fat, specifically around your organs. That fat around your organs is not passive. It produces its own inflammation signals, it drives insulin resistance, it increases heart risk, and it actually generates more cortisol on its own, and it is specifically driven by the combination of poor sleep and ongoing stress. The exact combination that money pressure creates. So the person caught in the money stress and sleep loss loop is not just thinking less clearly, They are simultaneously gaining body fat, losing muscle, becoming more insulin resistant, and generating more internal inflammation. All of that because of a chain reaction of hormones that started with worrying about money. And here is the connection that almost nobody makes. The physical damage caused by this hormonal chain reaction makes the money problem harder to solve. Insulin resistance and chronic inflammation both directly slow down your thinking. They reduce how fast you process information, how well you hold things in memory, and your capacity for complex decision-making. The person damaged by this loop is literally less capable of solving the money problem that started it than they were before the loop began. Their circumstances haven't necessarily gotten worse. Their biological capacity to navigate those circumstances has been quietly degraded night by night, stress by stress, until the gap between where they are and where they need to be feels impossible to close. It is not impossible, but it requires understanding what is actually happening, which is what nobody has shown them. Let's talk about the scale of this, because this is not a niche problem. 39% of Americans right now, that is nearly 4 in 10 people, are losing sleep specifically because of money worries. That is not a fringe statistic. 4 in 10 people are starting every single day with a partially impaired command center, dysregulated hunger hormones, elevated cortisol, and reduced insulin sensitivity because of what was running through their mind the night before. 54% of Americans are currently living paycheck to paycheck, more than half the country in a financial state that generates exactly the kind of ongoing, unresolvable stress that wrecks sleep most severely, not occasional stress, not temporary pressure, the kind of ongoing background financial threat that your nervous system never fully puts down. And here is the part that makes this genuinely urgent. The health consequences of chronic sleep loss are not minor inconveniences. They are serious, cumulative, and expensive. People who consistently sleep less than 6 hours per night have significantly higher rates of obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and depression than people who sleep 7 to 9 hours. These are not small differences in risk. They are large, consistent, well-repeated differences across decades of research. Every single one of those conditions is also expensive. Medical bills, medication costs, lost productivity, reduced earning power, time lost to illness and recovery. The physical cost of chronic sleep loss converts directly into financial cost, which generates more money stress, which causes more sleep disruption. The loop does not stay in one area of your life. It spreads through every area simultaneously. There is another layer here that most people have never considered, and it involves what happens not just in your body, but in how you show up at work every single day. Sleep loss changes how you show up professionally in ways that have direct financial consequences. Let's go through them. Your ability to accurately read social situations drops. Sleep-deprived people are significantly worse at reading facial expressions and emotional cues. They are more likely to misread neutral expressions as threatening, and to respond defensively in situations that don't require it. In a professional setting, this means unnecessary conflict, missed opportunities to collaborate, and damaged relationships with the people who influence your income. Your risk judgment becomes broken. Sleep deprivation does not make people simply more cautious or more reckless. It makes their risk assessment less accurate. They misjudge probabilities. They miss consequences they would normally catch. In money terms, that means investment decisions, career decisions, and business decisions made with a broken risk calculator, and then your motivation system collapses. One of the primary jobs of quality sleep is restoring your brain's sensitivity to its own reward signal, the chemical that tells you effort is worth it. When that sensitivity drops because of sleep loss, the connection between effort and expected reward weakens. Things that used to feel motivating stop feeling worth it. Goals that felt reachable start feeling abstract and distant. This is the biological explanation for why people in chronic money stress and sleep deprivation often describe feeling like they have stopped trying. Not because they gave up, because the neurological system that generates "this is worth pursuing" was depleted by their situation. They are not lazy. They are neurochemically depleted, and nobody is telling them that. Instead, they are being told to try harder, make a budget, drink less coffee, and go to bed earlier. Advice that treats the symptom while the biological mechanism runs untouched underneath. Now here is something that connects all of this in a way that might genuinely surprise you. Your gut is involved in this loop too. The connection between your gut and your brain is one of the most significant areas of health research in the last decade. The ecosystem of bacteria living in your gut directly influences your mood, your motivation, your stress response, and your sleep quality. It does this through a major nerve connecting gut to brain, through hormone signals, and through producing the building blocks of your mood and motivation chemicals, including serotonin and your reward chemical. Sleep deprivation disrupts the bacteria in your gut. Poor sleep reduces the variety of gut bacteria, increases the bacteria linked to inflammation, and decreases the bacteria linked to mood stability and stress resilience. A disrupted gut reduces your mood-stabilizing chemical production. Lower levels increase anxiety and low mood. Higher anxiety makes sleep harder. Harder sleep disrupts the gut more. More gut disruption means even lower mood chemicals and higher cortisol. And money stress hits your gut bacteria through the same cortisol pathway. High cortisol changes gut speed and function, shifts the microbial balance toward more inflammatory types. So you have money stress and sleep loss both hitting your gut bacteria from different directions at the same time. And the gut is responding by producing less of the chemicals that help you feel calm, motivated, and capable of dealing with either problem. Your mood, your resilience, your ability to believe things can get better, your ability to take consistent action, all of these run partly on chemicals your gut produces. And both sleep loss and money stress are degrading your gut's ability to produce them simultaneously. The loop does not just run in your brain and your hormones, it runs in your gut, it runs in your immune system, it runs in your muscle tissue and your fat cells. This is a whole body phenomenon. So where does it break? This is the most important part. Because the loop runs automatically, but it is not inescapable. It has weak points. And those weak points are simpler than most people expect. Because the things that actually work are not about willpower or motivation. They are about biology. You do not fight a biological loop with determination. You interrupt it with targeted inputs that push the system in a different direction. That is the only thing that actually works. The first breakpoint is sleep itself, but approached as a biological intervention, not a lifestyle preference. Not something you will get to eventually when life calms down. Most people treat sleep as something they will prioritize when the financial pressure eases, when work slows, when the kids get older, when things are less stressful. That is exactly backwards. Sleep is what creates the biological conditions under which those things become manageable. It is not the reward for solving your problems. It is the tool you need to solve them. The single highest leverage sleep habit is a consistent sleep and wake time, even on weekends. Your body's sleep system runs on a clock. When the clock is consistent, the system runs better. When it is inconsistent, the system runs poorly regardless of how many hours you spend in bed. Consistency is the variable that matters most. Cutting out light from screens in the hour before sleep directly supports your body's timing signal, the one that tells your body it is time to begin the recovery sequence. Blue light from screens suppresses it. Darkness triggers it. This is not a suggestion. It is basic light science. Your body uses light as its primary clock-setting signal. Remove the blue light at night and the signal gets through. Keeping your sleeping space cool, around 18 to 19 degrees Celsius, supports the body temperature drop that triggers deep sleep. Your core temperature needs to fall by about 1 degree to enter and maintain the deep stages. A cool room helps that drop happen faster. A warm room works against it. None of these interventions require money. All of them work directly on the biological mechanism that money stress has disrupted. The second breakpoint is creating even a small financial buffer, and understanding it not as a financial milestone but as a biological intervention. A cortisol reducer. Research consistently shows that even small emergency savings amounts as low as a few $100s produce measurable reductions in money anxiety and corresponding drops in cortisol output. The buffer does not have to be large to have a biological effect. It has to be real, it has to be separate, and it has to be specifically for the unexpected. The majority of nighttime money stress that disrupts sleep is driven not by chronic poverty, but by the specific fear of the unexpected. The car repair, the medical bill, the month something goes wrong. When your brain knows there is a buffer between you and that specific fear, The threat signal that is keeping you in light sleep reduces. Not because your finances dramatically changed, because the nature of the threat changed. From certain disaster to manageable disruption. That is the shift. And it is biological. Every dollar in a genuine emergency buffer is a cortisol reduction. Every cortisol reduction is a step toward better sleep. Better sleep is a step toward a clearer, more capable, more metabolically healthy version of you. One who makes better money decisions, which builds the buffer further, which reduces the cortisol more. The loop runs in reverse. The same compounding that was working against you begins working for you. The third breakpoint is your cortisol rhythm, specifically the evening cortisol spike that money worry creates. Your cortisol is supposed to be at its lowest between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. This is the window where your deepest, most restorative sleep happens. When money anxiety triggers a cortisol spike in that window, it directly interrupts your body's repair sequence. The practical answer is not to stop worrying. That is not realistic. Telling someone to simply worry less about money is not advice. It is dismissal. The practical answer is to move the processing of money worries outside the sleep window. Designate a fixed time earlier in the evening, not in bed, to review your finances, write down your concerns, and create one concrete next step for each. This is not about solving all your money problems in one sitting. It is about giving your brain evidence that the threat has been acknowledged and a response has been started, which reduces the part of your brain that drives nighttime cortisol spikes. Your brain keeps you awake about unresolved threats. Give it a resolution, even a partial one, even just a written plan, and the alarm quiets. The cortisol drops, the sleep deepens. That simple shift in when you process worry changes the biological outcome of the whole night. The fourth break point is food, specifically the food your sleep-deprived, money-stressed body is driving you toward, and why replacing it matters more than most people realize. The combination of a high hunger hormone, a low fullness hormone, high cortisol, and a partially offline command center creates a powerful biological drive toward high sugar, high fat processed foods. This drive is not a character weakness, it is a hormonal instruction, and following it accelerates the metabolic damage that sleep deprivation already started. Telling someone who is sleep-deprived, financially stressed, and chemically depleted to follow a strict diet is the same as telling someone to have more discipline. The hardware needed to maintain that discipline has been compromised. The real intervention is removing friction from better choices, making the healthy option the easy option in the specific moments when your biology is pushing hardest against it. Keeping food in your environment that does not spike your blood sugar rapidly, because blood sugar spikes and crashes amplify cortisol, which amplifies sleep disruption. It is a small environmental change with a real biological downstream effect. Here is what the other side of this loop looks like. This is the part worth staying for. When sleep improves, even modestly, even by 45 minutes per night of better quality sleep, cortisol begins to drop. When cortisol drops, hunger hormones recalibrate. The hunger hormone decreases. The fullness hormone increases. You feel full sooner. You crave high-calorie foods less intensely. Your metabolic rate stabilizes. When cortisol drops, your gut begins to recover. Mood-stabilizing chemical production increases. Mood stabilizes. Anxiety decreases. The background hum of dread that makes money problems feel hopeless begins to quiet. When your command center gets the restoration it needs from quality sleep, your decision-making improves. Not dramatically, not overnight, but measurably and consistently. You start catching the impulse purchases before they happen. You start thinking slightly further into the future. You start seeing options that the exhausted, cortisol-flooded version of you genuinely could not see. Better decisions reduce money stress. Reduced money stress lowers cortisol. Lower cortisol improves sleep. Better sleep restores the biology. Restored biology makes better decisions possible. The same loop, running in the opposite direction. This is what people mean when they talk about momentum, when things start to feel like they are finally moving. They are not describing luck or motivation. They are describing the biological compounding of a loop that has begun running the right way. It does not require a dramatic change to start. It requires one real break in the cycle. one input that shifts the biology enough that the next step becomes slightly more accessible, and the step after that slightly easier still. You are not tired because you are weak. You are not stuck with money because you lack discipline. You are not stuck because you haven't tried hard enough. You are exhausted because a biological loop has been running in your body, connecting your money stress to your sleep to your hormones to your decisions, and your decisions back to your money stress. And nobody drew that loop for you. The sleep you have been losing is not just rest you missed. It is the cortisol reset that didn't happen, the growth hormone that wasn't released, the command center that didn't restore, the hunger hormones that didn't recalibrate, the insulin sensitivity that didn't recover, the reward system that didn't replenish. Every missed night is a missed repair cycle, not just missed rest. And the money stress that kept you awake is not just a financial problem, it is a biological input. One that has been reshaping your hormones, your metabolism, your mood, and your decision-making capacity every single night. You are dealing with a system, and systems respond to targeted inputs, not willpower. That is the honest truth that most people in this space will not say to you directly. Start with sleep. Not because it is the easy fix, because it is the biological foundation that everything else runs on. Fix the foundation and the capacity to fix everything else begins to return. Piece by piece, night by night, decision by decision. Your body wants to recover. It knows exactly what to do when you give it the conditions to do it. Give it the conditions. Have you ever noticed that your worst money decisions happen during your worst sleep stretches? I want to know what happened. Drop it in the comments right now. If this is the level at which you want to understand how your health, your biology, and your money are actually connected, subscribe. This channel exists to show you the real mechanisms, not the surface, not the generic advice, the actual system every time.